All right, so welcome everyone to the April New Jersey Electric Vehicle Association. Thanks for joining us. We have a packed agenda today, so let us get started here. So my name is Mario Caballero. I'm the Vice President of the New Jersey chapter, and I will be your MC today. So first of all, thank you to our sponsors, the Borough of Madison, New Jersey, and Signature Detailing. As a benefit of them being a sponsor for us, you get 10% off of any services that Signature Detail in Hillsborough offers. So definitely take them up on that opportunity. So the agenda for today is a chapter report by me. Then I'm going to talk about EV road trips. Then we have Pam Frank. I don't see her yet, but she will be joining us to talk about strategic positioning of EVs as mobile energy storage. And then we'll have our own Ashley to kick off a conversation on the most burning topics. We'll go over the upcoming events, uh, sneak peek about our next meeting, and then we'll open it up for question and answers. So with that, if this is the first time joining us, welcome. We are a chapter of the National Electric Vehicle Association, and our mission statement is to accelerate the adoption of electric vehicles. We are one of about 100 chapters that are part of the National New Jersey Electric Vehicle Association. And I think at this point, we're actually probably the largest. As it was mentioned earlier, the National Electric Vehicle Association is a 501c3 nonprofit organization. So any donations or your membership dues are 100% tax deductible. So thank you for all of you for being members.
So you're telling me that after I just filed my taxes? Okay.
You can always do an addendum. So we would like to welcome new members, John, Karen, Richard, and Lisa. If you're on, thank you, welcome. And then we have a couple of renewals from March and up to yesterday, Scott, Michael, and Mark. So as of the tally that I did last night, we are at 100 active members, which is huge for us and also huge for the National Electric Vehicle Association. I think with this number, we're technically the largest chapter in the country. So thank you, all of you. So a couple national and New Jersey news. Unfortunately, PSE&G and JCP&L are ending their EV incentives. So they were providing about $1,500 to help EV owners install their electric vehicle charging equipment. And also they were providing additional, I believe it was 2 cents off from off-peak charging if you were providing them data about your charging with JCP&L. It had to be specific. EVSE for PSE&G, they were actually able to pull data from your vehicle if it had cloud connectivity.
Yeah, I
So
just want to step in. So PSCNG would provide like 10 cents credit for off-peak charging. So
oh,
that was a big deal. Go ahead.
yeah, so I'm in the JCP&L territory, and they would only give you 2 cents. But however, having said that, there are ways where you can save in charging your electric vehicles. Uh, the utility companies offer what is called time of use rates, which basically what they do is they give you a lower rate per kilowatt hour during off-peak hours, which is typically 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. Monday through Friday and all day Saturday and Sunday. Now, with that, they do increase your rate during peak hours. So if you are EV drivers, you probably know that the biggest load, the biggest consumption of electricity in your in your homes is probably your EV. So it may very well make sense to switch to a time of use rate and then schedule your vehicles to charge overnight or anytime during the weekends. We'll also have a June 9th meeting with John Simonski, who is the EV program manager from PSCNG, who will provide more information about this as well. So as you have probably seen as you drive, the fuel prices continue to increase, and there is a lot of people looking at EVs, which is great for us. So as you are EV drivers, if someone asks you about your experiences driving an EVs, feel free to share your own experiences. It's also good timing because we are starting all the EV shows as part of the National Earth Month. So there will be a lot of opportunities to share our perspectives. Now, even though some of the manufacturers are stopping the sale or reducing the options from EVs in the US, we continue to see an increase of models being offered outside the US. Also, there's been a lot of news regarding used EVs. It seems that they are selling like hot potatoes because they are coming off lease at a very good rates cost. And also people are starting to see the value of saving money based on the energy costs. So with that, I would like to talk a little bit about taking road trips on EVs. So I don't know how many of you have decided to take a road trip with your EV. I know some people, they do have a gas car and sometimes they take the gas cars for road trips. My household is an all EV household. So everywhere that we go, we take our EVs. So we've been taking road trips for many years. We go every summer to Maine camping for a week or 2 weeks. And recently, last week, it was spring break for us. We actually took a road trip to Tennessee and Georgia to visit some universities. My son is a junior in high school, so we're starting to take a look at some schools. So I just wanted to give you some tips, as to how you can take a road trip with an EV. I have two sets of data points here. I have a 21 Tesla Model Y long range. It's right now, I think it has about 90,000 miles. So we definitely drive that a lot. And that's the map on the left side. All the lines that you see is basically where we have driven. And then all the little red dots are where have we charged at a DC station. So I do have my cars connected to Teslafy and Electrify. So every trip that I take, every charging session that I take, it automatically gets logged. So I thought that it would be fun to get some stats out of that. With a Tesla Model Y, my longest driving segment has been 3 hours and 39 minutes, which it's a long drive, right? That's without stopping. And then the average charging time, the DC fast charger time, across all 90,000 miles that I have done with a Tesla is 18 minutes, right? So when people say that, oh, it takes too long to charge, and I don't want to take an EV. If you look at the data, it really 18 minutes is not that long. That's how long it takes you to go in. After 3 hours and 39 minutes, you definitely want to use the services offer at the stops, right? You want to get a drink, a coffee, or get lunch or dinner. By the time that you come back, the car is already ready to go. I've actually had some instances where we stopped for dinner and I had to run out to unplug the car because I didn't want to pay additional fees for just using up the charging station. So at the end of 24, we also got a Rivian. We have a R1S dual motor with a max pack. And this is really our road trip vehicle. As you can see, the longest driving segment is almost 4 hours, which is a really long time to be sitting in a car, probably too long. And since the Rivian does have a larger battery, about twice as big as a Tesla, it does take a little bit longer to charge. But again, my average charging time is only 22 minutes, right? So, and again, this is average. I think my fastest charge was probably like 5 minutes. But as you can see here, road tripping with an EV is totally doable. Is stress-free, I would say, as long as you have a vehicle that have a navigation system that tells you where you need to stop and for how long. And I also have some tips as well if your vehicle, your EV doesn't have that. But having said that, let me go to the next slide and talk about some tips here. And again, these are just my tips, just my experience. You know, doing a number of road trips with my EVs. I would definitely recommend to sign up for the Tesla membership for charging. It's $13 a month, but what it allows you to do is pay the Tesla rate at the superchargers. Now, obviously, this only applies for non-Teslas, right? But they do offer this Tesla membership where you actually pay the same rate as you would pay with a Tesla. After the second charge on a road trip, this membership paid for itself because you save so much money. If you don't want to use Tesla superchargers, I know Electrify America also has a membership option that makes their price per kilowatt hour a little bit cheaper as well. But if you're really looking to save money, the Tesla membership is definitely the way to go. What I do is on the month that I go on a road trip, I sign up for the membership. And then as soon as I'm done, I cancel the membership and then I don't have to worry about it until the next time. The next thing is to rely on your onboard navigation. I know some people like to not use the navigation in their cars. They know where they're going and they just follow that, or maybe they use Waze on their phone and that's it. To really have a stress-free experience, I would highly recommend to use the navigation in your vehicle. That allows you to know how far your car is going to go, and the car will also tell you where you need to stop and for how long you need to stop. One of the things that you want to do when you are road tripping an EV is not charge to 80 or 85 or 90%. You basically want to follow what the navigation system is telling you. Sometimes you only need to charge for 5 minutes. Sometimes you only need to charge for 10 minutes. And basically that's what I do. Now, if your EV doesn't have a good navigation system built in that actually has a trip planner, another option is to use an application called a Better Route Planner, ABRP. It's an app that you can download on your phone. You tell it what car you have, what size battery it has, what year model it is, and then it will calculate for you based on the range of your vehicle, the temperature, um, the location where you're going, elevation, and traffic, what it expects you to have in terms of a state of charge, and then it gives you options to stop and charge. You can also change it so that if you can select, if I only want to use Tesla stations, you can put that in the app. If you want to say, I only want to use Iona stations, you can put that in the app as well. If you're towing, which I do with my EVs, you can also, it also has an option to only show you charging stations that have pull-through charging stalls, so you don't have to unhook your trailers. But it's definitely a great app to have. Like I said, don't charge longer than needed. Follow what the car is telling you. Typically, what I do is I try to get to my next charging stop with about 15% state of charge. That gives me good wiggle room just in case I need to take a detour because of something, or if I'm driving faster than anticipated, or if it starts raining and there's more friction. That seems to be what has worked best for me. Just target 15%. Sometimes you'll get there with 20%. Sometimes you get there with 10%. A reason why is that the batteries charge faster the lower the state of charge is. So what you will see is you will see a big ramp in the kilowatts that you're getting in the battery. And then as it starts hitting about 50% or so, then it will start slowly the rate will go down. Also, if you're staying overnight, definitely look for hotels that offer EV charging. To be honest, this is a gamble. Sometimes hotels say that they have charging stations. You get there, sometimes they don't work. Sometimes they charge you an arm and a leg. But sometimes it's actually free, and then you can just plug in and charge overnight, which definitely makes the next day a lot easier to navigate. And then if you have a co-pilot, if you're traveling with someone, if the vehicle will tell you where you need to stop next, so they can actually go in the maps, in Google Maps, Apple Maps, and then see what are the coffee shops, the restaurants in that area. If there's something that you don't want to go to, you can go to the prior charging station or to the next charging station, right? Where you can find the services and the restaurants that you're looking for, better amenities. Definitely totally doable. Doesn't really add that much time to your road trips. You need to stop anyway to use services, to get a drink. So it's great to have the car charging while you're using those services. So with that, let me stop to see if there are any questions. I saw a question on the chat here, the cost of membership. So the Tesla membership is $12.99 a month. And again, you just sign up on the Tesla app. For the Electrify America, to be honest, I don't use Electrify America.
I
had
think it's
some.
around $8.
Okay.
It's either 8 or 9 or 7. I know it ends with 99.
It's $7.99.
7.90. So
Okay.
it's 8.
And
Yeah.
if you purchase a new electric vehicle from manufacturers such as Kia or others, you'll actually get 3 free years of Electrify America Plus Pass access. So oftentimes, like I have a Kia EV6. I haven't needed to ever pay for charging, and now I've had my car for nearly 2.5 years. I've never paid for charging in the wild since I just exclusively use Electrify America. And at this point, I think I'm only halfway through the 1,000 kilowatt hours they grant me as a function of the pass. So it's actually pretty nice to have.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm personally, to be honest, I'm not a big fan of Electrify America. I did not have a good experience a long time ago with older EV that didn't have a long range, and so anyway, I try to avoid them. But yeah.
Hey Mario, not a question, but just a comment. I've got one of those slow fast charging Chevy Bolts, and I don't mind going on a road trip at all with them. I think they're great. and it doesn't really have a good planning system, so I use a better route planner. And if you don't mind a little bit of the thrill of the hunt and planning ahead and doing stuff like that, there's really nothing wrong with it. It works really well. My thing about Electrify America is some of the older ones only have four spots, so they can get full. So sometimes you like to go for the Teslas because they may have 8, 10, or 12 or more. So your chances of pulling up and charging without having to wait are much better. But I enjoy going on road trips with my EV, even though I don't do it that much. When I do it, I like it.
Yeah, and actually, another thing with a better route planner, um, if your car doesn't have cloud connectivity, you can also buy a USB dongle that you plug in into your diagnostics port in your car, and then your phone will communicate with that dongle, and then it will read the live state of charge of your vehicle, the consumption, the speed, all of that, and so it can provide you like more accurate information as well.
Robert has raised hand.
Yep.
So, Mario, how did you capture the data from which your tables or charts were generated?
Yep. So I use sorry, I'm going the wrong way. So there's a website. If you have a Tesla, it's called TeslaFi, TeslaFi.com. And then they have a sister website called ElectraFi. And I can put the websites on the chat. You basically log in with your Tesla or your Rivian, or I forget what other vehicles they support, account, and then the website will communicate directly with Tesla or Rivian servers to get that information that the car is already sending to them anyway. I know
Okay.
for Rivian, there's also Rivian Roamer as well. It's another system that relies on the API to read information from your vehicle as well. So you get a ton of data. I mean, you can get how the temperature of the inside the car, the ambient temperature. You can see your charging curves. You can see when your vehicle was idling, when it was sleeping. It's a ton of data that you can get. You can see
One more.
your. Yep.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, I was just gonna say that you can also get your consumption. So for example, for my Rivian, I went from an all season tire to all-terrain tires. So it's pretty neat that you can actually see how your efficiency change based on the tires that you have, based on the speed that you travel, based on the ambient temperature. So it's a ton. If you're a data geek, you will love it.
Cool. One more question, then a comment about my experience on a long road trip. You talked about charge times. Did you experience long wait times to access a charging station at times?
I've only had to wait once, and I believe it was a holiday weekend. We were coming back from Connecticut, and we had to wait like about 5 minutes for a Tesla station to open up. But that was like 2-3 years ago. I have to say, this last road trip did not have to wait at all. I even stopped at a Tesla charging station that had 60 stalls in there, and it was insane.
Wow.
It was amazing.
Wow. So my experience in November of 2022, 4 months or so after I got my EV, I took a road trip to Tampa, Florida for Thanksgiving, and 1,200 something miles, and it was really smooth sailing all the way down. As Ashley mentioned, with my car, which is part of the Hyundai family, it's a Genesis. I got 3 years of free charging at Electrify America, up to 30 minutes at a time. And I did not have difficulty locating charging stations all the way down 95 and into Florida. I will say this, that back then, a number of the stations, the Tesla, pardon me, the Electrify America hardware had not been upgraded. So some were operating at 150 kilowatt max,
Hmm.
and not kilowatt, but others were now 300 or 350 is much more common. So I did have a couple of instances where I start the charge and it would fail, or I'd have difficulty starting, but nothing that really discouraged me. It just meant that instead of planning on 20, 30 minutes, I was spending 40 or 45 minutes at some stations. But I will say this, my experience with Electrify America in the recent past, I'd say over the last 18 months, has been superb. I've never had an issue getting connected and charging quickly. So for
Yeah.
what that's worth.
Mhm.
And finally, well, two final points. Um, um, Ashley, I hate to disappoint you, but I don't think uh, the Hyundai Motor Group or any of the other manufacturers are offering much in the way of incentives to new car buyers. I asked at every single one that I visited at the auto show last weekend, and they're just not doing it at this point in time in terms of charging incentives. Finally, your point about using the car's navigation system, there are lots of benefits. One of them on my vehicle is that it also enables, what's it called? Battery conditioning. So in the cold weather, which I was experiencing when I was driving down to Florida, it preconditions the battery so that it reduces charge time.
Yep, absolutely.
In the warm weather, you don't have to worry about it.
Well, in warm weather, you actually want the car to also to cool down the battery, so it can take all that charge. So, yeah, totally forgot to mention that another benefit of using the in-car navigation system, it preconditions the battery. So, I'll just swing this over here just so that you can get a sense. So this is Electrify right now. I'm looking at my Rivian is charging right now, but some of the data that you get is actually temperature efficiency. So right now it's looking at all the drives that I've done over 25 miles. This is in Celsius, but as you can see, sort of like what efficiency I'm getting just based on the ambient temperature, right?
I
There's
don't think you're
also,
you're not sharing that,
oh,
Mario.
I'm sorry. Uh, you still don't see it? Okay.
I don't. Does anybody
See the
else?
Electrify, yeah, we see the Electrify page that you pulled over and put over the PowerPoint with
Okay,
the
yeah, yeah.
line graph and the chart.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
that's
Yeah, I see
it's
it
just
there.
that the content might be a little bit displayed a little bit differently than he's expecting.
okay.
Since the efficiency is on your y-axis and then your temperature is on your x-axis below.
Correct. So yeah, again, this is just some of the data that you can get out of these systems. Um, I believe they do charge. It's not a lot, maybe $5 a month or something like that, to provide this service. But again, if you're a data geek, it's great to have. So any other questions or comments? Any other experiences anyone want to share? Road trip in their EVs?
I
If
mean, I'll
not,
pipe up. I was gonna say, back in 2021, when we were still kind of pandemic era, I was taking my car from, Edison all the way up to Schenectady pretty frequently, to visit friends. And we were doing some social distancing, nature-based outings. And funny enough, I was getting a lot of wait times near certain areas, near Highway 17 and other places, the closer I got to Albany, since Electrify America and other chargers hadn't yet moved into the area. And so folks were getting kind of pushed to very specific regions of New York State. But you kind of saw through the pandemic, as people started to get EVs and as the adoption rates in New York and moving down through the I-95 corridor continued, it drastically opened up. And then I would rarely, at the same locations that I would try to stop, ever get people that had to wait in line And you kind of saw a really cool correlation between like 2021 to like 2025 of how often people had to wait and where they were generally traveling and whether or not they had in-state versus out-of-state plates. How were people charging? So I wasn't seeing as many locals to New York. I was seeing a lot of out-of-state plates when I would stop, which was a really cool thing to see as like the culture and behavior of charging continued to evolve and people didn't rely exclusively on DCFC to charge their car. If they live 15 minutes away, they weren't having that same level of range anxiety. They were allowing themselves to charge at home at night, like Mario was talking about. So it's cool to kind of see through different states and through different road trips how folks' behavior has changed. So just a cool insight that I had.
Thanks, Ashley. All right, so if there's no more
Oh,
questions.
actually,
Oh, go ahead, Stan.
I want to also add, because I have kind of extreme experience. Can you hear me well? Because I am now in the car.
Yes.
Okay, so I took our 2017 Chevy Bolt with family of 4 from New Jersey to Orlando, Florida. And it was in December 2023 before superchargers were open to non-Tesla. And we made it. Yes, it required planning, but we made it. So, if we do not have any more comments, since Pam is not connected yet, I suggest that Ashley will take over her part. And then when Pam is available, we can go back to her part. Ashley, take it away.
Thanks, Dan. Coming to you live from my Kia EV6. I'll be with you folks for the next 20 minutes until I have to go teach. But as somebody who kind of wears now 2 hats, and I am your policy lead here for NJEVA, as well as a board director with National. For people that know, I'm specifically on fundraising, on revenue campaigns, and other types of, I guess you could say, corporate giving. I am staffed on the policy committee, membership committee, and the annual meeting committee. So I have access to a whole host of information. And the things that keep coming up and the things that keep coming to mind have been kind of twofold. The first being, what are the conversations that here at the local level you folks want to have, i.e., it sounds like the road trip conversation was really well received and folks are engaging, and I love to see that. But what other conversations have you folks been interested in? I know in the past there have been requests for how to answer really hard questions around things like battery recycling and EV fires. There have been questions about how to maximize incentives or what that looks like from the utility side for different programs which may exist. These are different topics that we've had through the years. So for the very first thing that I wanted to open up, what are the things that you folks are most interested? Whether it's how do you answer hard questions from folks who are EV curious, especially now that gas prices are on the rise and they might be interested, is electricity as volatile and as expensive? What's your experience? There's probably a whole host of things that you might be getting asked. So what are the topics that you're either curious about because you want to answer and be a more effective EV advocate? Or what are the things that you're just generally curious in? This is kind of an open forum discussion, and I want to hear from you folks. So feel free to raise your hand, come off mute, start talking in the chat, however you feel most empowered. But I was actually really curious to see what are the things that you really want to hear about. Everyone's shocked. They're like, I wasn't expecting to speak today.
Seeing as how no one else has chimed in, one of the things that I'd like to see, and Mario talked about it briefly before, but somehow convincing JCP&L to come up with a better time of use plan. I think reducing the time of use overnight makes sense, but increasing the cost for peak value for peak hours doesn't really make a whole lot of sense system wide. It's just a matter of that just generates revenue for them.
I have many thoughts as somebody who used to be on the board at the Board of Public Utilities and had to deal with this exactly. I can actually partially answer that now if it helps. When we're talking about peak and off peak, the whole entire point that JCP&L and other utilities for I was going to say, for most of the folks who actually have to purchase electricity and you work a generalized 9 to 5 job, the electricity that is used by your employer aggregated at that location, they also, most of the time, have their own commercial rates. When you look across an entire territory, time of use, ignoring EVs, ignoring where those kilowatts go, the whole point of like time of use programs is behavioral change. It's about peak shifting and load shaving. And what that means is if you have a bunch of folks that are planning to use electricity all at one time, that creates a massive peak. And the grid itself does not like these sharp lines that keep occurring. The smoother and the flatter those load curves are, the better it is for the grid, both for the health and for access. It prevents blackouts and brownouts. And it also keeps things like demand charges down. Demand charges are things that even EV charging stations have to struggle with, and it's definitely a big issue. So when you start talking about peak shaving and load shifting, if people are like, it's going to cost me like 32 cents to do all this in the middle of the day, it will incentivize their behavior or disincentivize their behavior to move that activity and move that behavior to elsewhere in the day. From there, if you have folks that are then plugging in at night, it is actually filling in the trough. So rather than having nothing at night, you want to use up all of that electricity that's coming from sources like nuclear, your 24/7, always on resources, which is separate from your renewables that we've been seeing, like intermittent resources. And the other thing for anybody in the green and environmental headspace, when you have peaks and you pass a particular threshold, our interconnection service operator, also known as PJM, they are not everybody's best friend, but they do one thing and they do one thing really well. They have 13 separate states and territories that they're in charge of. So they manage power for New York, New Jersey, all the way down towards Virginia. They have a massive territory and they figure out where all of those electrons need to go at a moment's notice to make sure that the grid doesn't go down. And what happens is that if you have a bunch of peaks, you're going to have the problem where at some point or another, we got to start calling in peaker plants in Pennsylvania that are coal powered. We're going to have to start calling in natural gas plants from elsewhere rather than using intermittent renewable resources, which are just happening generally during the day when you have wind and solar, and potentially battery storage now that you've got the Governor Sherrill administration who's working on battery storage and other things. So we also don't like peaks because of that reason. So you have time of use rates that are incentivizing people not to use electricity at certain points of the day. And that's why we say charge at home at night. And that's inclusive of if people are in the middle of the day and they're at work versus at home running their air conditioner, doing dishes, running their dishwasher, doing a whole bunch of other energy-laden activities that might raise that peak for that particular area. So I hope that answers the question generally. TOU is not good for every single territory. As somebody used to look at energy rates across the country for my normal day job, some areas like Southern California, Edison, and PG&E, they actually have something called dynamic pricing. Prices change all the time based upon time of day, based upon peak, based upon what people are using, and it's a more responsive methodology. But it changes, and around the country, there's a bunch of different types. We just happen to have in New Jersey time of use rates. So that's kind of your long yet short answer and your primer if you don't know how electric rates are made. But to answer the original question of, hey, we got to tell PSA&G, hey, we got to tell JCP&L, we want better programs. There is nothing stopping us the next time that there is a Board of Public Utilities public stakeholder comment cycle to say, hey, we as NJEVA feel really strongly about this thing, and having you folks tell us, namely getting my butt in gear because that's the policy lead, being able to go and say, hey, we want to be able to provide really good education and insight. Since we can't directly advocate and say you can or you cannot do this, we're not allowed as a 501c3, we can educate, be like, hey, best practice is this. This is how you get customers really engaged. This is how you have high customer satisfaction. You know who's your customers? All these folks at the NJEVA. So we're able to absolutely speak up on your behalf and talk about the stuff that you care about, especially if it's things like cloud connectivity for having telematics for your personal vehicle and saying, hey, all vehicles that have telematics should be included, not just one. So definitely a huge thing that we should be talking about. And I'm more than happy to kind of entertain those conversations in the future as maybe PS or JCP&L start to create new programs in the future. I think it's great to hear from you folks what you're most passionate about and what are the things that you would want changed.
Well, Ashley, thanks for that. I do appreciate the intricacies that are going on with things. My particular complaint is I'm more than willing and happy to move my car charging to off-peak hours, but my house still needs to run. My house still needs to be warm. My house still needs to have all this other stuff. And forcing that to a higher rate for peak is, that disincentivizes me from trying to save people some energy.
Yeah, and for some folks, it definitely does not make sense to move to a time of use rate, and you're by no means required to use it whatsoever. Typically, for residential purposes, it's best for you to use something called a whole home rate, which most utilities in the state of New Jersey do offer. It's just they used to also have something where it was a companion, where for your whole home and for your generalized house, you would use one rate. And then for your EV charger, which was considered to be its own smart meter, rather than having a second meter put in, your electric vehicle charger was smart enough with those telematics and with that connectivity and data sharing that they were doing this 2 cent or 10 cent discount for off peak, allowing you to have that second meter grant you additional incentives. So if it doesn't make sense to do that, doesn't make sense for time of use, then there's other methodologies and other rates. But I would say don't do time of use if that's the case. But for the other folks who are like, I'm not even home all day, I keep my house at, some steady thermostat value, and I really don't go home until 6 or 7, so it doesn't really matter to me. For those people, it might make sense. So definitely choose your own adventure on that.
And if I'm
Yeah,
not mistaken, JCP&L actually discontinued their "I'll talk to your charger" and get the charging
Yep.
data from that. So splitting it out. So it's like, okay, that's,
Yeah.
double whammy. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm
yeah,
expecting that they should be coming up with something new, considering the last time they had a rate case was 2018 when I was with the board. It was processed in 2019 and 2020. And I want to say that because it's been easily 5 or 6 years since the last time they pulled a rate case in front of the board, my gut instinct is that we might see another rate case soon from both PS and from other utilities. So I'd say stay tuned and see what they come out with.
another watch out that it's worth mentioning is if you have solar in your house,
Mm,
be very careful with time of use rates. So if you don't have solar, I'll try to keep it as simple as possible. But basically, you have a bidirectional meter. Basically, the electric company is metering the electricity coming into your house, and then the excess electricity that you are producing that you're not using, that you're pushing out to the grid. So with a flat rate, which probably most of you have today, all the excess electricity that you send to the grid, it's sort of like in a bucket that you're able to draw from throughout the year. It resets once a year on your anniversary date of when you turn on your solar system. If you change to a time of use, instead of having those 2 meters of coming in and going out, you're going to have 4 different meters. Coming in during peak, coming in during off-peak, and then going out to the grid during peak and going out to the grid during off-peak. And then the electric company is actually going to have 2 buckets for you, one on peak and one for off-peak. So I did try this just as a test 2 years ago in my house. I do have solar, and I tried it for a year. I gave it a go. But basically, what happened is that my peak um, production was a lot higher than what I was actually using, and my off-peak consumption was a lot higher because obviously during the middle of the day, you're producing electricity, you're sending it to the grid, you're in the office or you're not charging your vehicle, so you're creating this huge bucket of peak electricity that you have produced. And then when you come home at night, you charge your car or you charge it during the weekends, you're actually drawing from your off-peak bucket. So at the end of the
mhm.
year, I ended up with excess peak, and then I ended up paying more money because I was having to pay for the off-peak electricity that I wasn't producing. So just a
Were you
watch out.
charging at night?
I was, yes.
I was going to say for all of those folks, because I did that last year when I had my old house in Edison, and I was weird in the sense that I changed my charging schedules and I would charge from 11 a.m. and onward, right in the middle of peak, to
Yep.
completely absorb all of that solar in the beginning of the day. And then I would be able to sell back. And you're right, it doesn't pay. So it really does depend upon when you are charging and when the biggest big jump comes for both production as well as utilization. I'm one of those people that has solar on my house now in Manville, and you're right. You have that giant bucket of net energy credits, and it's a huge boon if you don't have time of use, because then it's just one bucket for both in and out, whether it's summer or whether it's winter, and it works out very well. I imagine Stan has his own expertise from years and years and years of using solar and charging his car. So I was going to say, Stan, I expect you to chime in a little bit on this conversation, since you've been doing this for a long time.
Yeah.
Keep it simple, Stan. Keep it simple.
Well, no, but
The
thank you.
dissertation starts now.
Well, thank you, Ashley. But I'll say a few things. One is because of the electricity is getting more expensive, data centers and whatnot. And of course, ban on wind power, which was supposed to be here pretty much now or within a year. So that's the electricity is more expensive, and the utilities, they have to be creative. So the PSCNG is kind of on the top of being creative here. And what you heard earlier today, Jon Chedimowski, he's our friend. He's working at PSCNG. He's going to talk about it in June. He's not available in May. I wanted to put him in May, but he will do it in June. Briefly, what Mario said was peak and off-peak, right? PSCNG used to have that system. They grandfathered it. You cannot use it anymore. You cannot subscribe. But if you subscribe before, you are grandfathered. It's a great program, actually. I'll explain why. The new program is a 3-tier system. And they call it peak, mid-peak, off-peak, but I would rather call it super peak, peak, and off-peak. And they shortened the off-peak to be only at night, 6 hours, between midnight and 6 a.m. And the super peak is Mondays through Friday, 4 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. And if you know what it means, Ashley was describing the load curve between 4 p.m. and 8:30 p.m. This is the worst time. This is where the society, the grid, is experiencing the general peak. And so if you subscribe for this 3-tier system, hold your breath. In summer, you will be paying 60 cents per kilowatt hour. 60 cents, that's crazy. In winter, it will be 38.5 or something thereabouts. Now, yes, it's only 4.5 hours, but now what Mario was talking about, that when you have the 2-tier system, peak and off-peak, the peak and off-peak is typically produced in the ratio 5:2, because weekend is off-peak and 5 days business days are peak. If your solar system was built before you got EV, before you got heat pump, before you got heat pump water heater, what can happen, and what happened in my case, that the solar system that was designed and it did deliver 100 or even more % of the load, now delivers only 35%. And when you have less solar system versus what your generation versus your demand, now when you have this time of use, it makes sense, because the peak that it generates, you can actually consume it. Sometimes I have to charge during the day. It's not a big deal. I typically have hybrid working schedule. But adding heat pump heating system, it adds lots of load. So it really helps to consume that peak energy. And essentially, my bill is such that I buy only off-peak. And I didn't subscribe to the 3-tier system. I thought that I don't want to talk too much about it, because we'll discuss it in. Okay, I should just stop. Do we have?
No, that's super helpful, Stan. Yeah, I was going to say, I was going to take the very last one for the last 5 minutes, and then we can turn it over to Pam. I was going to say, I saw a question in the chat about bidirectional charging. I'm going to address that really quick before we kind of turn it over. So yes, we've been banging on the drum about bidirectional charging literally for forever, whether we're talking about Texas and ice storms that they experience, or Georgia with immense amounts of hurricanes, many conferences. in the professional EV circuit have been talking about this, and it's been on the table. And the main thing that we're seeing right now from the bidirectional side of the world has predominantly been the issue where you have a one car to one charger system where you have to get the exact charger that is capable of operating with bidirectional interoperable capabilities. What does that mean? This is the ye old Apple versus iPhone charging cable situation. You have one cable for one car, and that will allow you to do this energy arbitrage of being able to send energy either back to your home or back to the grid or maybe to batteries if you have residential storage on your property. So it's been a very big question about how do we start to make these barriers more seamless and allow people to have more than one potential charger that they're able to use for bidirectional, and how do you actually do that beyond your typical vehicle to load, which we all saw last year at the Kilowatt Cookout with Rob and his vehicle and mine. We had all of them down the row, so that's vehicle to load. The vehicle to home is a much bigger system, and that's something that needs to have way more engineering in order to have it think intelligently and be able to manage that entire system. So very interesting stuff. I'm totally hearing you, and I definitely think that we should talk about interoperable systems and bidirectional charging maybe later this year. There's some cool stuff coming out of Maryland. Baltimore Gas and Electric is required to do some vehicle to grid integration, VGI, or bidirectional stuff. So if I hear anything cool, I work with BG&E a lot. I hear something cool, I'll make sure that I bring it up in a future meeting so that way you guys are the first to know. But with that, I don't see anything else in the chat for topics that we should cover in the future. So thanks for letting me have my little highlight reel. Pam, if you're on, I know that Stan has clocked you in for a discussion today, so I'll turn it over to you. Good to see you.
Wait.
Also coming to us live from your car.
Ashley, thank you so much for jumping in and sharing your thoughts. It was fantastic. Thank you. Mario.
Ashley's great.
Yeah, okay. Pam, take it away. Thank you so much. Maybe we should introduce Pam. Pam is CEO of ChargEVC. Pam was our host, our guest. Was it in spring 2024? I think so.
Oh boy, Stan, I don't remember.
March.
Yesterday. Yeah.
Yeah, and then a few weeks after that, New Jersey implemented the New Jersey punitive fee. So that was fantastic. Anyway, Pam is going to talk about strategic positioning of electric vehicles as mobile energy storage. Pam, take it away.
Yeah, it's really good to be with you guys. Thank you. I apologize for joining late because it sounds like such a good, meaty discussion, but I had a previous engagement with my son for dinner, and I couldn't miss that. I wanna be brief. I don't know how much time I have, and I don't need a lot. But so I'm also in the energy space as an energy consultant, and so I've noticed something really interesting over. Oh, and also I should just add too that I was, in Israel when the war started. So for 10 days I was in a bomb shelter more or less, and kind of brought back home a lot of the reasons why I got into trying to get off fossil as a sole source fuel. There were so many reasons, but high amongst them was also the corrupting ways it has with global relations and war in places where they don't like us very much. So it was a kind of a stark reminder of all that. Anyway, sorry to digress, but the moment that we're in right now is really interesting because we've got a new administration in New Jersey that is laser focused on electricity prices and affordability. And now we have a war in Iran where high fuel prices are not going away anytime soon. And it's not clear what's going to emerge from this Straits of Hormuz standoff. But it's at least seems clear to me that things are not going back to normal in any sense for about 20% of the world's oil and how it moves around through that particular location. And so we've got this interesting moment, I think, when it comes to a lot of the things I suspect you were talking about, like the vehicle to grid. I was delighted to come in on the conversation about the bucketing issue with solar. I was in solar before working in EV, so I'm long familiar with the off-peak and on-peak bucketing issue and problems that has caused for a lot of folks that have solar, both in commercial situations and also, I guess, residential time of use. Although it was news to me that this bucketing problem, not surprising, but news to me that it exists for time of use rates. In any sense, it seems to me that we're at a moment where we need to be thinking strategically about how we're talking about electric vehicles. And I will share, I'm sorry, you can't see me too well. I'm gonna turn the light on there. I will share that, I'm also the board chair of Plug in America, which I hope you are all familiar with. And so a lot of what I'm about to say to you, I've been saying to them on the national scene, but also for ChargEVC, sort of state level, that we and I mean everybody who cares about electric vehicles and this transition, we need to start repositioning the way we talk about electric vehicles. And we need to do it as soon as possible. And my suggestion about this has to do with talking about electric vehicles as mobile storage and unlocking sets of benefits that go beyond a car. So a car gets us from point A to point B. Electric vehicles do that really well and really efficiently, as we all know. And we love to drive them. But we also now have to start talking about what that battery can be doing besides taking us around. And we all know that for most of the 24 hours, a car is not typically on the road. So when we talk about unlocking the benefits of the battery in the car, besides mobilizing the car to get us to and from point A to point B, we talk about resiliency assets and we talk about grid services. There's also another issue that's going to come to the fore, which has to do with avoiding, as we called it in California, the duck curve, which is once we get to the point in New Jersey where we're generating more solar than we can use in that instant moment, we are going to need ways to store it. And electric vehicles also become, and we could lump that in with grid services, but it's a little bit different. In any case, I think these are salient messages, and we're working to try to rethink and even in some cases perhaps rebrand. ChargEVC has become about cars, about transportation. It's got to become more because the systems, the energy systems and the transportation systems are becoming linked when you start to use electricity for fuel. So I'm not sure I've got too much more to say than I think that is an opportunity for all of us to rethink how we advocate for policies and programs that get more of these vehicles in the hands of drivers and users generally. I want to stop there and maybe see if we can have a conversation. And if there's thoughts about this, if there's questions about this.
This is fantastic. Yeah.
I can certainly talk, Stan, I can certainly talk a little bit about kind of the state of play on these things in New Jersey, but to be honest, we're kind of nowhere.
Yeah, I know California and I think Texas with Tesla, they have this virtual power plant, right? Where if you have a solar system and stationary storage in your house, then with the electric company, you can like basically do the energy arbitrage that we were mentioning earlier. But I don't think there's anything like that available in New Jersey yet. I would love to jump on that, but I think the best that we can do today is V2H, vehicle to load, right, where you can plug in appliances out of your car. But
you can, and what's interesting about that is, and it's funny, I tell people this all the time because people are like, you can't do that. I'm like, you absolutely can do that. If you have a car that's capable and an electrician that can wire your home appropriately, you can absolutely do that. What's interesting about that when I talk to policymakers about this is if you had a whole neighborhood and they did this, Ford was doing this research out in Michigan, right? And I didn't realize this because I don't have a car that's V2G capable. My next one will be. But basically, I was told that if you just basically get your house to run on your car battery from about 4 to 7 p.m., 4 to 8 p.m., it's only going to cost you maybe 20 miles of drive time, maybe a little more, but not a ton, right? If you're smart about optimizing how you're using that battery for your home. Meanwhile, you can do this and get entire neighborhoods to disappear from the grid during peak times that Stan was referencing before. That unlocks millions and millions of dollars for savings throughout the system that benefits all the ratepayers. Now, no one now in New Jersey, no utility offers any sort of a price signal, any sort of compensation for doing that. You know, we're going to hear, and I'm glad, Stan, that you've got PS on talking next month about their new rate structure for time of use and what they're planning to do there. And that's, you know, starting to play at the edges of this. But I think we need sort of price signals for customers. In this way, we could squeeze a lot of benefits out of that battery. And kind of the other sort of thing for the policymakers is, that's the biggest bang for the buck, because last time I looked, most people pay for their car. It's a private sector purchase. Maybe they get a little help with a little bit of money from the ChargEVC program, right? But most of that money is being spent by private citizens, right, for their cars. And this way you can get a private investment to unlock benefits that accrue to the public good. That's a great day for New Jersey.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, my 2 cents is that there is a technology gap a little bit here, because, you know, it sounds simple using the battery in a car for bidirectional purposes, but most OEMs did not design their vehicles in a way that you can extract the energy out. The one brand that was known to do it was Nissan, but they were doing it through CHAdeMO protocol, which was which was rendered obsolete. And I think that we have a gap here, because car makers have to build vehicles that have that capability built in.
Yeah, my understanding is that the new models are being built to have that capability, but Ashley Lynn's point is a bit of an issue, which is Chevy wants to own you forever, right? So they want to sell you the charger, the cable, which is going to make it challenging. You want the stuff to be interoperable. And so there's work to do.
That's right.
Any other questions or comments for Pam?
Yeah, I got a quick question. The enthusiasm that you're that I hear coming from you, Pam, is really terrific. How do we get legislators on board to help drive some of this?
Oh, that's such a good question. Who just asked that question?
Rob Daly.
Oh, Robert. Okay, there you are in the corner. I'm sorry, I'm so dark here. I'm still in my car, but I'm parked. I'm not driving.
I'll move over. Is that better?
No, that's okay. I see you. So great question. And Stan and Ashley Lynn and I have talked about this for a while, which is, you know, how do we leverage the folks that are part of EVA to really try to make impressions on and do advocacy and lobbying of their legislators. And I will say this, which is right now there's nothing. Well, there's a couple of interesting bills in front of the legislature, but there's nothing big, right? I think we're trying. I know the work for ChargEVC, the work we've got cut out for us, is we're trying to think really big about how we make some of these big changes that require changes in law and also changes in regulation. And I don't shy away from big things, right? Years ago, people told me there was no way I was going to get ratepayer money for EV rebates, and we did it, right? I was literally told that, like, the day that happened, you know, cows would fly. And I guess cows are flying because that happened, right? So yeah, I'm never saying never on any of this stuff, and it's important and it has to happen quickly. But I think we need to leverage, Robert, the networks that you all have in a disciplined and coordinated way when there is a bill, a piece of legislation, something, big and sizable that we really need to galvanize around. I would love to have an army of folks, right, that can really help us get stuff over the finish line. We do need sort of regular folks that don't do politics for a living, but can organize and can also talk to their state representative. I mean, you guys all have people that you do have to elect, and so they all kind of have to listen to you. So I don't have a way to plug you into that right now, but we're trying to work to figure out how to do that. And I also will say, again, like in 2020, when we had our big EV win with the big EV bill in New Jersey that was enacted into law, we had something there that everyone could rally around and get behind and talk up. We need no pun intended, but we're working on another quote unquote vehicle, right? We need another, we need some big initiatives to rally behind. And we're also in these early discussions with the administration. The budget in particular is going to be a really interesting statement of priorities for the administration. They always are, budgets, right? So we're going to learn a lot from that exercise. But I really appreciate your question because it's really important. We need more advocacy. We need more help for sure. We need more grassroots.
Excuse me, I'd like to throw in a comment here or a question. It seems like when you're dealing with government money, the systems that they will fund have to be interoperable to the point where more than one manufacturer or car benefits from that whole system. Where is the best place to direct a hammer on the car OEMs to make their systems interoperable, just like now we can all, well, not, I don't know if all is the right word, but most cars can charge at Tesla chargers. They're getting federal money. The other cars that, the charging sites, they're getting federal money. They can charge more than one. How do we get the car manufacturers to realize that they need to be interoperable and work with each other so that this whole thing can move forward?
Yeah, that's a big question. And look, eventually with the Betamax and VHS, and if you remember that, because I'm old, and the Mac and the IBM, like eventually you get to standards, but it's bloody and it takes time. CHAdeMO, it's the same thing with CCS and NACS and CHAdeMO. I think part of it starts with, listen, states regulate electricity, and that's what's fueling these cars that they're building and trying to sell. I think one of the signals comes from states and states banding together to be able to say to the OEMs, you need to standardize around this. And by the way, if you do, we're going to offer markets and value that basically help you guys sell your cars, right? Like, we lost the $7,500 tax credit, but if you think about it, that potentially could be made up for by creating markets that provide value to people that own mobile batteries. And that's going to help sell more cars. And so I think that is one way to get a message to, California obviously would be very helpful on that because they're such a big market share and market player when it comes to the automotive market. But the other 13 or 15 states that typically band together on these kinds of efforts around electric vehicles could also be pushing standardization as well. That's one thought. I don't know if anyone else has any other thoughts about that.
Just real quick, I was looking online, and actually Tesla does offer the virtual power plant in New Jersey with a JCP&L. I just put the link on the chat. That's news to me. You can get paid up to $100 per kilowatt based on average hourly performance.
If you have a Tesla.
Tesla Powerwall.
Which will generally only work with a Tesla.
No, Tesla Powerwall is just a stationary battery that you can hook up to your to your electric panel.
House.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
It's
you
not
do not need a Tesla vehicle
right.
to be able to use this.
May I change a little bit of a topic? Because when I spoke with Tom Maloney, he said, "Well, you have to ask Pam about the New Jersey punitive fee. What's going on? Is something else on the table, like a mileage based, or what can we do to change it? Because it's punitive. It just doesn't make sense, right?"
It doesn't. And so we will take that up once again this year through budget to see if we can get some relief on that. New Jersey actually went through a mileage-based user fee pilot program. I've never seen the results of it, even though I participated in it. We go back to the well for the last couple of years, ever since that punitive fee was put in place, to see if we can get champions to put a resolution in. It's very hard. I mean, I got to tell you, it's a little bit attached to sustainable funding of the Transportation Trust Fund, so it's hard. I'd almost rather, if you asked me what I would prefer, I'd rather them give us our sales tax holiday back. But both are needed, and we will be advocating for that once again during the budget.
That would be fantastic. Thank you. If you need more people to show up, let us know. And we have now 100 members, so hopefully we can pull a good number of people.
What we need is people to just put a call into legislators. And tell them that that it's unfair. They need to hear from people. Like a phone call goes a long way. And a phone call to leadership, right? A phone call to the speaker, a phone call to the Senate president, right? To tell them to fix this. That would be terrific, to start something like that in May.
Okay.
On that note, another organization I'm involved with, they do, to bolster the government advocacy work, they share with members of the organization talking points and draft emails to send to government officials, legislators, etc.
Yeah, and we would be happy to provide talking points. I mean, we could work with EVA together and come up with some very simple talking points on this issue.
Great.
It's a good suggestion. Thank you. Ashley or Stan, maybe you want to follow up and we can talk about that offline.
Okay, let's do it. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, we are at the top of the hour. Do we have any other questions to Pam? If not, I would like to thank Pam for finding time out of your busy schedule to join us and talk about electric vehicles as energy storage. Thank you so much. Mario, we have still a few slides, so take it away.
Yep. So a couple more slides. So again, thank you, Pam, for joining us. Drive Electric Earth Month registration. So again, if this is your first time, National Electric Earth Month is a national, actually, I think international. I think there are some locations in Canada as well. So we typically, our members organize local events in our own communities. So if you're interested in setting up a EV car show, a ride and drive event, reach out to us. We can certainly guide you and give you pointers as to how to do that. And we also have resources to help with that as well. Yeah, question? No, okay. Then coming up, we have a couple of EV first responder awareness workshops. They have been going great so far this year. Next one is April. Actually, that was yesterday.
I actually want to shout out and give credit to Patrick McDavid. Are you? Yes, you are here. yesterday, and he was leading the event in Blackwood, and it was a big success. Patrick, can you give us a short debrief?
Sure, thank you. So yeah, we did our program last night over in Blackwood. They had about 38 attendees. I think there was 4 different fire companies represented. The chief and the firemen that we worked with were very helpful, happy to have us there. Mike Hornsby came out and did his usual great presentation. And then we had about 6 vehicles out in the fire bays for them to come out after the class and, poke around and examine. And all the feedback we received was really good. They were happy to have us. And we're looking forward to our next event in Chemung, New Jersey in May.
So before that one, we do have one in Skillman, April 22nd. So if you're interested in bringing your EV, you're more than welcome to sit in the
We need more
educational
vehicles.
part as well.
We need more vehicles. Please
Yep.
register. Come. Yeah.
You get free dinner as well. You also
Right.
get to learn how to respond to an EV incident. So please sign
Right.
up.
And that date is the 56th anniversary of the original Earth Day.
That's exactly it.
What better way to spend it? So May 21st, as Patrick, this is the one that you just mentioned.
Yep.
I guess the link to sign up will be coming soon. So
Will be
stay
coming
tuned for
soon.
that.
Yep.
And then with that, we do have a couple of Drive Electric Earth Month events already in the calendar. TCS Drive Electric Earth Month, April 18th. Essex County Environmental Center Earth Day Fair, April 25th in Roseland, New Jersey. Wild Earth Fest, Sunday, April 26th in Mountainside, New Jersey. Montclair Earth Fest Drive Electric event in Montclair, April 26th.
And that one is primarily organized by Sierra Club, New Jersey Sierra Club. So I just want to give them credit.
Okay. Morristown EV Fest, Saturday, May 2nd. And in my neck of the woods, the Raritan Township Green Fair, Sunday, May 3rd in Flemington, New Jersey. So all of these events you can find by going to our website and clicking the events tab, or by going directly to the Drive Electric Earth Month website.
Wait, you guys, I just have to say, as part of the Plug in America board, I don't know how many events that is. I feel like that's quite a number, and I want New Jersey to win. I feel like we should have a race of how many events each state could have. I'm going to suggest that for next year, but that is damn impressive. So thank you.
Yeah, and I tell you that some other chapters, they have a race how many electric vehicles they have in the event, and I don't like it because it is nothing but just a reunion of EV drivers, and the outreach to those who are uninitiated is kind of vaporizing. So for us, what is very important that we want to partner with someone who is organizing gathering, and we want to bring electric vehicles for a big impact. So that's our philosophy.
That's important, Stan. I appreciate that. I'm going to share that with our folks at Plug-in too, but that's really important. Thanks.
Okay, with that, next New Jersey EVA meeting will be hosted by our own Dennis. I think, Dennis, you're on.
Oh, yes, I'm on.
So
I guess next month.
Looking forward to having you. And with that, we would like to thank all our partners, Sustainable Jersey, RightWise, the Department of Environmental Protection, New Jersey Clean Cities, Sierra Club, Easy Ride, Cross Country Connection, Tri-County Sustainability, ChargEVC, Go Hunterdon, Lucid, NJ Car, Greater Mercer, TMA, Rivian, and Tesla. And I feel every month this slide keeps growing and growing. Thanks to all of your participation and all the connections that you're helping us with. Just a reminder, the EVA has 3 sponsorship options. So if you are aware of any businesses that would like to get involved with us, we have these options as well. Like I mentioned, we do have the detailing company that provides 10% discount to all of you if you want to have your car detailed, or if you want to do PPF or anything to your car. Just let us know that you found them from us. So with that, I think thank you everyone. We'll turn the recording off and then we'll open it up for any Q&A.
Yeah, and before we do it, I wanted to say at the beginning, I apologize to those of you who were expecting different topic, because originally we were supposed to be talking about medium heavy duty vehicles, electric vehicles, with Caroline McCollum from New Jersey Clean Cities. Unfortunately, she had to cancel because of family issues. But I'm glad that we were able to find other speakers and great conversation. So with that, thank you so much. And I'm going to stop the recording for those who are watching the recording.